5 minutes. How to handle the autopilot for the Cessna 208 in Flight Simulator. Here we go, Captain. Before we start, please note, this video will be as short as possible and would assume you already have the basic knowledge of the autopilot functionalities. If you are a new pilot or has no experience with the autopilot, I would suggest to watch first this in-depth video that explains, in detail, each functionalities of the autopilot. Just click the link on the corner of the screen. In the Cessna 208 Caravan, the autopilot panel is just above the navigation display. You would find here the same functionalities as in the Cessna 172. Let's start with giving a heading to our aircraft. By turning the knob HDG, you would select a heading, visible in blue on your HSI. A new feature available on the Caravan is the ability to set the autopilot heading to our current heading. To do that, just press the middle of the knob and you'll see the blue marker coming in straight to your current heading. You can now click the AP button to enable the autopilot. Confirm on your FMA that you are on heading mode. You might have noticed a new indication on the FMA called YD. This is the yaw damper, and it prevents the aircraft from unwanted oscillation that would lead to a Dutch roll, aka a very bad situation in aviation. That sums up the part on heading. Now, let's make that big bird climb. Same as the Cessna 172, you need to select a desired altitude, then give it a vertical speed to reach that altitude. The altitude button is the big knob named ALTSEL for altitude selection. Let's target an altitude of 11,000 feet and apply a vertical speed of 1,000 feet per minute. The vertical speed button is a rotary slider just right of the altitude selection. You can monitor the selected vertical speed on your primary flight display. In that situation, the autopilot will climb at 1,000 feet per minute and then stabilize at 11,000 feet. Now let's see an alternative way to climb without using the vertical speed. The FLC function allows the autopilot to keep a selected airspeed, only using the pitch of the aircraft. To use that functionality, first select a desired altitude, in our case 18,000 feet, then pitch the aircraft until your airspeed is stable. In that example, we will target 95 knots during the climb. The FLC button is on the upper right corner of the autopilot panel. When your speed is stabilized, you can click that button to engage FLC mode. You can also confirm on the FMA that FLC function is engaged, as well as the two blue marker on the speed indicators. In that situation, the autopilot will pitch the aircraft to maintain the selected speed. Don't forget to add power during the climb. Thanks to our amazing viewers, it's worth mentioning that you can change the selected airspeed via moving the vertical speed knob. Changes can be monitored on the airspeed indicator. And that concludes the part about level change. Let's now dive into navigation modes. We are currently cruising, and we would like to join our navigation path as shown on the GPS. First, please check your navigation source is correctly set. In that case, it's a GPS route. Second, be sure to give your aircraft a heading that converges to the flight path. Third, click the nav button on the autopilot panel. The FMA should show a green HDG as the autopilot is following the selected heading, and a white GPS, which means it will switch to following the magenta path when close enough. Let's skip until we intercept the route. As we are coming closer and closer, the FMA is now switching to GPS and will follow the path until the flight plan ends. That's all for lateral navigation. Let's see what vertical navigation has to show us. In that situation, we are about to descend on our arrival, as we can see the TOD information for top of descent. Let's prepare the autopilot to catch that descent path by clicking the VNAV button on the autopilot panel. The FMA should show our current altitude hold, in that case 18,000 feet, and a white V path that the autopilot will engage at the top of descent. Please remember that you need to select a target altitude, otherwise the autopilot might not engage. Let's fast forward to the top of descent. As we are approaching our descent path, the FMA will show a green V path as the current execution. The vertical navigation path is visible on the left of the altitude indicator, as well as the computed vertical speed followed by the autopilot. Approaching the runway, assuming you correctly entered the ILS frequency, and assuming your aircraft is at a reasonable heading and altitude, you can engage the APR button. The FMA will show a green HDG and a white lock, which means the autopilot will follow the selected heading until it catches the localizer. Fast forwarding to our interception, we can see on the HSI the localizer slowly coming its way and the FMA updating to lock. Same for the glide slope. The FMA shows the altitude hold and a white GS, telling us the plane will maintain current altitude until the glide slope will be intercepted. Last check on the FMA to confirm the autopilot follows the localizer and the glide slope, and you can then let the plane follow its way until short final. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe for more flight simulator videos.